Cecilia.
Thanks, Sarah. Can you clarify the president's comments? Was he referring to military action when he said calm before the storm?
As we've said many times before, I know the president has, as I have from this podium on quite a few occasions. We're never going to say in advance what the president's going to do. And as he said last night, in addition to those comments, you'll have to wait and see.
But how seriously should the American public or American adversaries, for that matter, take these comments? Was it a joke? Was it serious?
I think you can take the president protecting the American people always extremely serious. He's been very clear that that's his number one priority, and if he feels that action is necessary, he'll take it. Blake?
Sarah, let me ask you about the HHS decision today to expand the contraception waiver. The ACLU has already filed a lawsuit, or at least announced its intention to, and this was their response. They said, and I quote, "The Trump administration is forcing women to pay for their boss's religious beliefs." They go on to say, "We're filing this lawsuit because the federal government cannot authorize discrimination against women in the name of religion or otherwise." Your response to that would be what?
I don't think it's been a secret that I would probably never use the ACLU to get any of my talking points. The president believes that the freedom to practice one's faith is a fundamental right in this country, and I think all of us do. And that's all that today was about. Our federal government should always protect that right, and as long as Donald Trump is president, he will.
So then, in not responding to the ACLU, what would you say maybe to the women out there, or to the families out there who now have to pay more out of their pocket to get contraception coverage that they choose and that they desire?
This is a president who supports the First Amendment, supports the freedom of religion. I don't understand why that should be an issue. The Supreme Court has validated this decision, certainly many times over, and the president is somebody who believes in the Constitution. If people don't like what the Constitution says, they should talk to Congress about changing it. Hallie.
I want to follow up on that. I've got another for you. Given the lawsuits that the ACLU has already filed, said it would plan to file, is the administration prepared to defend this contraceptive mandate rollback all the way to the Supreme Court if need be?
The Supreme Court's already made clear what their position is, and it supports what this administration has done.
There will be a legal fight that escalates to the Supreme Court.
I think if it does, it'll show that this administration is on the right side of the law.
And then my question, Sarah, was just on the calm before the storm issue again, because if the president wants to preserve
Why wouldn't we ask the same question?
Well, it's a different question.
It's
actually.
Friday, so I
It's-
thought maybe we'd change it
It's
up.
actually a follow-up, because if you said the president wants to preserve an element of surprise. So if he wants to preserve an element of surprise, why would he dangle hints about his actions in the first place?
I don't believe he did. Matthew.
You'll find out and brought up a calm before the storm. So he unprompted.
He didn't talk about any specific actions at all. Margaret, sorry.
Two quick questions for you. One, there have been some rumors about the future of Secretary of State Rex Tillerson today. Can you continue to say the president remains confident in him as Secretary of State?
He does. As he said yesterday, or 2 days ago, as I said yesterday, nothing has changed despite what you may read in the media or watch on TV. I would certainly trust the president in my comments far above those of other reporters.
And I want to ask you, the president, words matter. The president can move markets. He can cause miscalculation when it comes to adversaries. In the context of the questions asked of you today, when you've been asked what he meant by calm before the storm, you've mentioned North Korea, you've mentioned Iran. There's the implication that there is some kind of military action. There was some sort of forecasting there. Can you clarify if we are interpreting things correctly?
I haven't been specific about anything. I've also talked about the fact that we're continuing to put maximum economic and diplomatic pressure on countries like North Korea. I'm simply saying that all options are on the table, as they have been, and we're not going to announce what actions we'll be taking until that moment comes.
Thank you, Sarah. Two questions, if I can.
Why not?
I asked you about Senator Corker a few
Just
weeks
not
back.
three. Two's the one.
Just two. I asked you about Senator Corker and some of the comments he made a few weeks back. Earlier this week, he said that Secretary Tillerson, Secretary Mattis, and General Kelly are basically what's keeping the country separated from chaos. And he said that there are other people in the White House that aren't, putting forth policies in a coherent fashion. Do you have any response to Senator Corker's statement.
Look, I think that the president is the one that's keeping the world from chaos. He has an incredible team around him that's helping him lead that effort, and he's had tremendous accomplishments on the international stage by working with allies and confronting enemies. We're going to continue doing that. We're going to continue doing that as a team with the president leading that effort.
Is General Kelly helping to lead that effort? Is General Kelly?
I'll come back to you. We have
Sarah,
time.
getting back to these calm before the storm comments, I wanted to ask you about that in a different way. There's a theory in Washington, and forgive me if you've been asked about it before, that the president subscribes to this madman theory, that if he makes a lot of unsettling, off-putting comments that sort of throw people off, that he likes to keep his adversaries guessing. That's sort of the point of making comments like calm before the storm and so forth. What is your sense of that? Is there anything to that?
I think the president's addressed this himself. He certainly doesn't want to lay out his game plan for our enemies. So if you're asking, is the president trying to, do that? Absolutely. I mean, I don't think
He's
that's.
trying to throw people off.
I don't think that that's a secret. I wouldn't say necessarily that he's trying to throw people off, but he's not trying to broadcast or telegraph his exact actions. I think we've seen what a failure it is when an administration does that, and this is a president who's going to do it differently and do it better.
Just a quick follow-up on that. So when they sort of catch their breath in this town, when they sort of hold their breath in this town, when he says something like that, you have a smile on your face. I mean, is that somewhat satisfying?
No, I just picture people in this town actually holding their breath. That might be a welcome surprise for most of America. Go ahead.
Sarah, just one more thing I want to pick up on what Margaret was trying to get at, I think, is let me put it to you this way. Can you exclude the possibility that the president was actually just being mischievous? That he was messing with the press a little bit when he made that comment?
I wouldn't say that he's messing with the press. I think we have some serious world issues here. I think that North Korea, Iran, both continue to be bad actors, and the president is somebody who's going to always look for ways to protect Americans, and he's not going to dictate what those actions may look like. I don't think there's anything beyond that that I can add on that front.
You called me Sarah.
I'll come back.
Just to drill down a little bit on what you said yesterday about press, saying that we owe it, I don't think anybody disagree that we should be as accurate, fact-finding as possible, but to flip it, do you and the president believe the president has a responsibility to be as truthful and honest with us as possible? Has he done it? And for those surrogates who have used your terms, alternative facts, would they then not do that?
Absolutely. I think we all come here every day and do our very best to give you the best and most accurate information that we possibly can. April. I think so.
Okay, going back to the answer about leadership, the president's leading. Is General Kelly part of that leadership team with the president as he's leading in this White House?
Absolutely.
Does the president have confidence in General Kelly?
Absolutely.
And if today's Friday, could we expect a resignation today from anyone?
I don't think so, April.
Sarah, question about the Affordable Care Act. President Trump has repeatedly said that we should just let Obamacare implode. But there's a new report in the Washington Post that says that President Trump personally directed administration officials to deny a request from the Republican governor of Iowa to fix the Obamacare market in that state. Is that true?
I'm not aware of that specific directive, so I'd have to check into that and get back to you.
If it is true,
I'm not going to comment on hypotheticals where I don't have the information in front of me.
Thanks, sir. I wanted to ask you a question about the Iran recertification process. Regardless of what the president decides, when he makes this decision next week, would you rather not have to do this every 90 days after that?
Again, as I said earlier, we're looking at something that is a broad strategy, doesn't just address one part of Iran's bad behavior, but that addresses a wide range of issues. So that would certainly be our focus. Hopefully, they would begin to not be a bad actor and we wouldn't have to do this at all. But our goal, again, would be to address a number of factors, not just one or two things. Peter?
Second question.
It is
It's been 6
question
weeks
for
since the
Brad.
president indicated that he wanted Pakistan to move against, what did you say, agents of chaos within Pakistani territory or areas under Pakistani control. The foreign minister was here in the White House this week to meet General McMaster. Have you guys seen any change in Pakistani behavior in those 6 weeks?
Nothing specific that I can weigh into at this time, but we'll certainly keep you posted. Peter?
Sarah, will the president campaign for the candidate for governor in Virginia, Ed Gillespie?
As I've said many times before from the podium, I'm not going to weigh into specific races and the actions that we may or may not take. And I think that's a great place to end us for Friday. And I hope everybody has a great rest of your Friday and a good weekend. Thanks,
Sarah,
guys.
you're going to vote Ed Gillespie, so my question was, why is it appropriate for him to? I'll wait if you want to take some time.